I'm Richard Bauer and this is my Suzuki Jimny. So some of the major modifications that I've made to the Jimny, it's got the Swift Sport 1600 engine in it. We've done a little bit of work on that, changed the cams a little bit. It's got the chip and the tune and all of that type of thing, so it's the engine. I've got a rear air locker in the back. It's got about a 6 inch lift. It's a combination of an imported lift kit from the UK as well as Zombie off-road spacers. It's got the bigger wheels, it's got offset, it's got spacers on it. But I think probably the biggest to the eye is the cut, where I literally, after we rolled it, the front had been smashed in, and my father-in-law was helping me build it because he comes from the bodywork trade, and he was like, no, we're not going to cut the back. I said, Wim, I'm very thirsty, please go make me a cup of coffee. And he went in to go make us coffee, and I said to Lindy, I said, I want the angle grinder. And she was like, why? I said, I want the angle grinder. Where does your dad keep his angle grinder? Needless to say, Wim came running out from the inside with me sitting in the middle of the car, cutting the roof off. So that would probably be the biggest one. And don't worry, it's safe. It's got a full MSA roll cage in it as well, built by the guys out at Profit to build drag car roll cages. We made sure to put that in just to make sure it's safe. How I got into the Suzuki Jimny, is a long story and cut it short, was I used to be a street racer, and I decided that I'd had enough of being on the streets and causing havoc, and I actually went and bought a Suzuki Grand Vitara, really nice mint one. Took it off-road once and I was like, I can't destroy this beautiful car, and I donated that off to my old man, and the next best thing was the Jimny, and I've never looked back. It's small, it's powerful, it's the little Samurai sword that everybody claims it to be. So I bought the Jimny in Durban, sight unseen. I saw it on, it was either Marketplace or Gumtree. I phoned up the guy, we had a bit of a chat, he sent me a couple of photos, jumped on an aeroplane, flew up to Durban, met him at the airport and paid him via EFT there on the spot, and drove it home all the way to Cape Town from Durban. And touch wood, luckily, it was a good buy. She never gave me any issues, and we've had some adventures ever since. Look, there were a couple of issues with it, I won't lie. It had definitely been in a rear bumper or something or other, and it was a rep car for the guys that do all the high sights for radios and all of that type of thing. So it had been used and abused, but what do you expect with 170,000 Ks on the clock? But still, didn't skip a beat, stock standard, it was brilliant. Okay, so I'm going to double this up, and my worst and my best memory is actually here from Outrakpad. Before they did all the changes, Outrakpad had some serious obstacles on the other side, and I had just met Lindy. We had been dating for 3 months, and I said to her, come. I said, we're going to go 4x4 in with the Suzuki boys, and we were doing an obstacle at the back, and I'm not going to say which it is because insurance disclaimer. And best and worst memory was we rolled the Jimny, and we were coming out of not a high speed, wink wink, nudge nudge, obstacle, and we literally just rolled and flipped onto the roof, and it all happened in slow motion. I said to Lindy as we were going over, I said, brace, hold on, we're going over, and she was like, huh, what do you mean? The next thing we were on the roof. And that's why I say it was the best and the worst experience. Worst because it was my beloved Jimny that now is lying with the ceiling on the dashboard and smashed up and everything like that. But best because it's such an awesome story to tell, and it's also now allowed me to have the creative freedom to go wild. You know, after I rolled it, I was like, hey, you know what, an angle grinder is my best friend now. And whenever we used to go off-road, people used to call me Mr. Snip Snip, because if something used to catch, I'd go snip snip, it comes off, there goes the angle grinder, and that's why she's looking a bit like she is today. So yeah, definitely best and worst would be the same experience here at Outrakpad, but some 4 years ago. I think as a young boy, I'd always been inclined to cars, like, you know, every young boy. And from there, when I eventually got my license, I always wanted the VW Golf Velocity. That was my, you know, that's the car that I have to get as my first car. Went and test drove a little Toyota Conquest RSI, had no clue what it was, and from there I was hooked. Hot hatches were my thing, and I mean, it just so happens that the Jimny's also, you know, the hot hatch of the 4x4 world. And it was just a way of escape, you know, coming from the street racing world where there's so many dangers apart from breaking the law and the illegal side of it, to getting out here into nature where you don't have to be going full tilt in terms of speed to be able to have fun. And from there it just grew. I've made some incredible friends through the 4x4 world. I've spent a hell of a lot of money. That means I didn't spend it on anything else illegal, which is, you know, fantastic. And it just sort of progressed from there. And this is also, I mean, as you can see, the Jimny, she's definitely not standard. And it's taught me a lot just in terms of using my own two hands, coming from an IT background, to be able to say, hey, I can do this all myself. And with it being a 4x4, it's no show pony. So, you know, coming from the car world where you go off to a park off and everything's got to be spit polished and cleaned, to you come out here and if your fender's half falling off, everybody's like, dude, where did you get that battle scar from? You know, and it's all part of the fun. So I think it was a natural progression. Nobody in my family was really ever in the car scene or enjoyed the car world, and it was just, I think, one of those things I fell into, and I've now lived it ever since. Loved it. I think one of the stories that I always like to tell about the Jimny is when I bought her. You know, I mentioned earlier that I bought her sight unseen in Durban, but the whole story is that I flew to Durban, picked her up, drove up to Richards Bay to go and spend some time with family on a farm there that I hadn't seen in years, and I literally took a week driving back to Cape Town. And it was the longest, slowest drive I'd ever taken, but part of that was just because I took in everything around me. I literally drove for no longer than, you know, 6 hours a day type of thing at most, but I made sure to stop along the way, and I love bridges. And if there was a bridge on the side of the highway that I was able to drive my Jimny onto or next to or under or cross or whatever the case is, I was literally stopping at every bridge to take some photos of the Jimny. And coming through the Transkei, it was breathtakingly beautiful. So that's the longest trip that I've ever gone on with the Jimny. I've been on a couple of closer trips since she's been modded like this. Furthest I've been is Knysna. I will never do it again. The furthest I want to go is probably, you know, like Hermanus is the furthest I'll go, you know, with her looking like this now. Not because she's not capable, it's just she doesn't have legs for the long road. Let's keep it like that. But yeah, I think the biggest trip is the one when I originally bought her. And you know, to us guys, cars become part of us, and she's definitely been a part of me. Longest I've ever owned a vehicle before. Really got to know her on that drive, and it was just, I think it was at that time in my life I just needed a little bit of serenity in my life after going through a whole bunch of stuff, and she gave it to me. Just open road, no expectations. I didn't have any pre-planning on where I was going to sleep, where I was going to spend the night. It was just me in the road, and when I got tired, pulled over, found somewhere to stay. And yeah, probably one of those stories I'll take with me and tell my grandkids one day about how you just get on the open road, clear the mind, don't know where you're going, but end up at the right place. Future plans for the Jimny. She's for sale. If you want to buy her, hit me up. No, we are actually in the process of immigrating to the US, so sadly she is up for sale. I had big plans if we weren't going to the US. The plans were to completely strip her down, probably go across to Toyota axles, probably try and fit 33-inch tires on her, which means you'd have to do some more cutting in the wheel wells and all of that type of thing, but again, you know, who's scared? And then bodywork wise, I was going to cut off the back and do sort of like what the Aussies do, where they cut the back off and build out a nice tray or something like that. That was going to be the next thing for her. But seeing that I'm selling her, there is somebody that's kind of interested, and I said to him, I was like, dude, I'll sell her to you on one condition, that you take her off-road and you continue to use her as she's done. She's incredibly capable, and to be perfectly honest, the only thing that I would encourage him to do is just maintain her. She's already so modified that to go to the next level, it's almost you're taken away from her being a Suzuki, because you've got to go to the Toyota axles and all of that type of jazz. So unfortunately, she's for sale. I leave a small part of me in South Africa, but that's life. Cool, so for those of you that want to see more about my Jimny, you can go over to my channel. We've done a lot of exciting adventures with her, as long as some 4x4 competitions and stuff like that, where she's, I don't want to say she's dominated because that sounds like I'm boasting, but she really has you know, made it really easy to win those. So I'd love for you guys to come across here, check out the channel and share some love on my channel too. Appreciate it. Channel name on my bumper, Rich and Lindy, and maybe this fine gentleman behind the camera will put a link in the description below.